Hello, welcome to episode 101 of the Currency Podcast, and now it is a Twitch stream too. In case you didn't know, in case you're tuning in for the first time in a while, now additionally to what it was before, as just a podcast, in addition to that, what it previously was, is that it is now also a Twitch stream, and so I'm glad for anybody that could be on board. I'm going to be continuing my career playing the PGA Tour 2K21 video game career mode, and it's against computers that I'm playing, but I'm in the Corn Ferry Tour. I'm in my second tournament, just to let you know, in case you haven't been up to date with my podcast episodes, and if you haven't, geez, I mean, wow, you really should have watched all of them. That's shame on you. Slap on your wrist, for you, and you can take that slap on that wrist that you got from me. It's more like proverbial one, and you can do whatever. You can exchange it for whatever you want. It's like currency. That's all that I speak in. You can use my words as currency. Like if I use a word that you would like to use or a phrase, then you can exchange it like it's currency so that you can stay relevant in your given field or just in your life. Everybody needs to stay relevant in life. That's why um, that's why you get a career so that you have so that you have a title or an authority that you can exchange when you converse with people. When you sell yourself to people on a personal level, you need titles and stories so that you can remain viable and relevant. And if you want to, you can use any stories that I share. You can exchange them like they're your own. That's the way that the world used to work before things became more immutable in terms of stories. And by that I mean things are being more recorded now. There's more things on video. And when people have stories, a lot of them are getting thrown into podcasts, like especially people that want to tell stories, starting podcasts. And then when you record a story, it becomes more immutable because it's on the internet as proof that it's yours. We didn't used to live in this proof driven environment as much, and it used to be like the Wild West in terms of stories. Um, where anybody could take someone's story and then sell it like it was their own. Like, um, it used to be harder to prove that somebody was something, you know. And what I'm saying is that things are like becoming more real or becoming more factual. Like, there's more proof for things. And what is the result of this for the economy? Maybe you wondered. You probably weren't wondering that exactly, but it's like I would say it leads to more money creation. The environment that we live in makes it easier to prove that money is happening if you can prove transactions. For example, like if somebody gives you a story on a podcast, you that's like a proof of transaction. It's like a receipt where you know where somebody exchanged the story with somebody else. It's even more immutable if it's like a conversation between two people. You can see the exchange, but like the exchange happens even if it's one person like me. It can be between the person, like the moderator, what I am, and the audience. It's just like a proof of transaction. Like I'm trading my stories or trading my words or what I have to offer. Um, it's trade, and the same way that money gets, we buy things at the store, and you need a proof of transaction. That's why we have receipts at all, or like the bank record your bank account records all of them when you lose money or whatever. Like the transaction goes along with anything money related. Um, but a more immutable world is a world more conducive for transacting, because people have more faith in transactions when they're nailed down to like where they're coming from, who has ownership over what, is being more, it's just being made more unchangeable, since where there's irrevocable proof of who the story came from in like a podcast episode. And yeah, irrevocable, that's a like $100 word or so. And so that's one of the words that you could feasibly use on your own, even if you didn't know exactly what I meant. Okay, so I'm continuing my career mode, and within this hour, I do need to get through at least 6 holes on this tournament, but I missed the cut in the first tournament, so in my career here, I'm in a bit of a hole, no pun intended, for being a golf video game. And but I'm continuing it now. I'm in the first round of this second event on the tour that I'm playing, and I'm 1 under through 8 holes. Here's the setting. Fashion magazines line the walls now. The walls line the bullet holes. Do you get that reference? I'm not going to tell you what it's from if you didn't. That's part of the charm that I undeniably bring to the table. That's part of the charm, is just the mystique of reference that I give. But like, I think it's better to not mention the reference. Like, you mention a movie, but then like that not everybody in the audience has heard it. If for any performer doing any performance. Um, yeah, I hope these broadcasters on. I gotta maybe turn my TV down. But I have one headphone off of my ear just so I can hear myself talk more clearly. That's what we needed. That's what I needed. I didn't get to hear my voice loudly enough, and so I put one headphone off my ear just so I could hear it more clearly. It's just kind of confusing when both of the earmuffs are on. Okay, so what do we got here? I'm going to take this 5 hybrid, which they're saying is going 160 yards. You know what, buddy? You can take a 5 wood out of the thing, out of the sand. And this isn't going to go well. It's going to be short no matter what. Slow. Okay. So, yeah, so transactions, money, currency. I think that it's funny that, um, I think that it's downright hilarious, and I roll on the floor dying laughing every time. Um, when, uh, so I'm saying, you mention a pop culture reference, don't go to any length to explain it. Just mention it for the people who know it. That way you can keep things cool. Because otherwise, it's sweaty. Anytime you're like, that's from this movie. Well, have you seen that movie? It's always better to just say the reference and move on. The people who don't know it will like it better that way for some reason. I don't make the rules. I don't know why that is. Get in the hole, or at least stop short. I don't want a long ass putt. I want to stay under par. Yeah, and I'm playing with my career player, Barge Mistletoe, which, in case you have not been watching, is Barge Mistletoe, Missisletoe. Um, he's just a regular guy. Get in that hole. Yes, sir. That's how you make a par out of the trap. Okay, so now I'm through 8 holes. And I'm just trying to finish 6 holes at a time while I do this podcast. So I really just need to make it to the 12th hole. Um, so I'm letting you know what my goals are. And then when I accomplish the goal, it's like I accomplished something even if I didn't accomplish anything else. Even if I said nothing else. Like, you could be successful just letting somebody know what your goals are, because that's something that people would be interested in following at some low level. Even if it was a nonsense goal, people like to follow somebody who is getting the goals done that they say. At least that's a premise that I'm trying to think that I was hoping is true, but might not even be true. It might just be bullshit. Maybe people, I mean, I don't know what people care about, but like it's funny that what I was going to say, where I was making a joke, oh, this is going to be hilarious, is that it's always like cryptocurrency is a scam, and the people that think it's a scam are like, yeah, I always knew that was a scam, or like it's going to turn out that it's a scam. And they especially come out when the cryptocurrency is on a downward trend. Let me make sure everything is recording right now. Oh, crap. Well, I never turned my headset on, of course. So that's terrific. Really excited about that. I don't know what I'm going to do now. Let me think. Maybe I'll just substitute in the audio from my recording in the beginning. That sounds good to me. I'll just edit it later. So, yes. So right now I'm talking about that I realized my headset wasn't on because I'm a doofus who doesn't remember to turn things on. But you have to understand that there's a lot of things that I had to turn on. So, like, um, I'm only so much of an idiot. It's just like, I mean, I had to turn a microphone on and a computer and a laptop and whatever else. Like, don't make me turn on too many things at once and then, like, I'll forget it. But I don't feel like starting over, so I'll substitute the audio in later. But, like, people say cryptocurrency is a scam when in reality, it's actually a reality. Like, it's constantly happening. You can't really deny it. Don't you see that it's happening? Um, it's going on in the world. You can look at it. You can look at the prices. It continually goes on. Like it's really more of a reality that we're like, well, that's a scam. Like people should open their eyes. But there's a lot of things like that people dismiss as that is fake when it's a reality. Like conspiracy is a reality, especially for people that are conspiracy theorists. And a couple episodes ago, I was talking about conspiracy theories. In the episode I have called Conspiracy Theory, I was laying out the conspiracy theory. And let me continue to state what that theory is, or let me explain it further. What I'm saying is that the conspiracy, like the conspiracy theory or the theory of conspiracy, if you want to call it, that states that the only real important conspiracy is the conspiracy made up of conspiracy theorists, that group of people, but um, this is the only important conspiracy because, and it's put on by the people who don't like conspiracy or conspiracy theorists, but in other words, people who believe in conspiracy theories, we put them all in this one group, conspiracy theorists. But it's kind of like for a conspiracy theorist, conspiracy is actually reality, especially at this point. Like it didn't start off that way, but now it's gotten to the point that you can't really deny the reality of conspiracy, like the people that believe it. And for people that believe it, it's not a theory when you think about it. Like it's gotten to that point, like enough has been realized about it that it's like you'd have to recognize that the conspiracy theorist believes what they believe. And so for them, conspiracy is a reality, but people who are unable to recognize the reality of conspiracy are the real conspiracy theorists. And so the only real conspiracy theorists are the people who look at the group of conspiracy theorists and say, what are they up to? They need to stop believing what they do. We're afraid of what they're putting out into the world, misinformation. Like, because people look at that group of people, the conspiracy theorists, and they do demonize them in that way. Or they're like, they're spreading misinformation, or there's a conspiracy going on among the conspiracy theorists. And so it's really like, at this point, I'm just saying the only real important conspiracy is the one made up of conspiracy theorists. But for the people who are conspiracy theorists, Conspiracy is a reality. Conspiracy is a theory for people who deny conspiracy. Um, and that's one of my original theories. That's like if I told people, yeah, I have this podcast. I just kind of share some of my theories, and they're like, "Well, what's in your one of your theories?" That's one of my theories, and it's mine, and no one can deny anymore that I made it up. It would be a conspiracy if you said somebody else made it up, um, or something along those lines. But it's like the conspiracy. It's the same with so this is going. This must be a real downward slope. This is a wild green. It's a wild green that we have here. Yes, I'm gonna have to hit this gently. Get to the hole. Get in there, miss. Ooh, that one's gonna fly by. That one's gonna fly by the hole. I don't quite understand what. I don't know why that, but you know, it's always like that with these golf video games, especially when you're first starting out. If anybody's ever played a golf video game, what happens to literally everybody is you screw up at some point when you're like 4 inches away from the cup because the way that it's calibrated, you would hit it normally, but then all of a sudden you hit it too hard. So it's like you always miss some 4 inch putt when you first start playing a golf video game. It's another one of my theories. It's just, and it's a horrible thing that's happening. And can we do anything about it? Oh, and of course I missed for par. And then I bogeyed. I bogeyed, and that's all right. But it's the same with, yeah, so I'll have to edit that audio later. So my headset is definitely on now, right? Hell yeah. Second try. Because I did try to turn it on at the beginning. It's just my mind went somewhere else, and then I was thinking about something else that took me away from turning it on. Um, what is anybody supposed to do about that? Like, what when you try to think about something and then you think you thought about it, and then later on you realize, oh wait, I never did that. It's like I never followed that through. What is any one person to do about any of that, you know? There's no planning ahead that you can do. There's nothing you can do about it besides like I have ADD, and what the only thing I could do is take Adderall, and I'm nice enough to the world to continue to present myself as unfocused, um, and not give into those drugs. I'm nice enough to not give a focused version of myself to the world because they probably don't even want it. I don't know. People people like me aloof better than focused. It's just that if I was focused, then I would probably be like 10 times more annoying. Because since I'm not focused, I just kind of remain silent a lot. But if I took Adderall all the time, started to refocus my life, like get things done, like all of a sudden start working out because I took Adderall. Like, I mean, it's just dangerous to get into the territory of like now I'm a focused person because your family and friends will be like, "What's going on?" People need an intervention. I mean, of course they would, right? Though, because if I'm taking amphetamines, which is Adderall and amphetamine, I don't really know. I don't want to speak out of turn. That's my impression of it, is that it's like a methamphetamine, but it's not, but it is still an amphetamine. Yeah, we're like my family and friends would need an intervention. Like you need to be unfocused the way you used to be. It's disgusting. Like if you start to accomplish a lot, we need an intervention. This is so it's gonna go 116 yards, but what is this? Why is 117? Alrighty. All right then. Gotta go over here. This is gonna go too far. Nope, not that. How do I do this? How do I make this less? There it is. Oh, I know how. You go up and down like this. Perfect. Yes. Okay, great. I'm figuring it out. Um, Still too much. And it was slow. And it's going to be on the green anyway. But that I'm saying, it's like about, like, people are unwilling to admit the reality of something that is a present reality continually. Like, cryptocurrency is a scam, but it's always here. Or like, what's really going to make it go away? People do the same with Christianity if they deny it. Like, you can, Christianity is a reality. It's not like something you, uh, like something you believe in or don't. I think. I mean, clearly, Christians make a big deal of about the importance of believing in it. So this is gonna go 6 yards, and then, but it's kind of like the most relevant entity on the entire planet, the Christian church, because it's so heavily populated, like a third of the world claims to be Christian, and there's churches everywhere. Like, there's more churches in America than McDonald's. And so it's like you couldn't really deny it, right? Isn't it here? Isn't it a reality? Isn't Christianity a reality? Especially since every year that we name is another year after Christ. Um, seems like an seems like a undeniable reality. Christianity. I can't seem to figure out how to. Okay, sandwich 6 yards. I see. I see why they're giving me this. Yes, it's all making sense now. Stop, 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 get there. Stop, get there, stop. Um, it's like a present reality you can deny. And from what I understand in the Christian church today, there's a couple of people have shared with me this sentiment that seems to be popular in the Christian church right now, which is that the uh, you should we need to unlearn the things that we grew up with, like the theology that we grew up with that was too evangelical. We need to unlearn those things in the name of replacing it with new Christianity. Like, from what I understand, that's a popular sentiment in the church right now, even though I haven't been in a church in a while myself. Um, and I think that that's interesting. Like, a couple people shared that with me to say, like, that's a thing that you should think about doing, um, to improve your walk with God or your faith in God. And faith, like, Christianity seems to only want to use the word faith for whatever that idea is. Um, when that idea is, it's something like confidence. Well, it actually stems from a word from, like, the Latin is fides, which is the same as the word in confidence. Like, we get the word confidence and faith from the same origins, from the same, like, original word. So faith is a confidence that you have, but it's like a trust or a loyalty that you have in a person. But Christianity isn't going to use the word loyalty to describe that thing. They're going to use faith, because faith is more ambiguous of a term. But like loyalty, for example, if you were saying that there is a crisis, you might, like, you're trying to walk away from your loyalty, or there's a crisis of your loyalty to the Christian church, it makes it sound more like a labor union. So, like, the Christian church chooses the right words to use in certain circumstances, but I'm mentioning how it's always faith. It's never like trust or loyalty. I'm not saying that for sure the reason is because they don't want to sound like a labor union, but, like, comparisons should be made to your church to a labor union, since you like you enter into that, and then they offer you certain protections, especially if you, well, like, you pay money to go there, and then they offer you protections. Like, you would, in my opinion, want to give money to the church if you were a Christian, so that you can make it more real or have more authority over Christianity or being a Christian. Like, if you want to strengthen your relationship to that, you should give money to the church. So, like, people do, so that they feel like they have more authority over the title Christian that they're getting. But it's like a loyalty. Faith is just, I think when pastors push faith, they're pushing loyalty to the community that's been given to you here in the church, loyalty and solidarity, like the same as if it was the labor union that you joined. Like, we are all one here. Don't forget about that. Like, and be grateful for the community that you have. You need to have loyalty to the church. I feel like is a lot of what they're saying. Maybe more that, as opposed to like faith in God or something. Like, I think that it should not be ignored that the church is also asking for your loyalty to them, and to the cartel that is Christianity. But what I started in to say was this, like, I've heard this a few times. It's important to unlearn the falsehoods of Christianity that we grew up with. And so I guess that this is a push in the Christian church to adopt a Gen Z Christianity as opposed to a Gen Y one, a millennial one. For the millennials that heard all this crap growing up, that wasn't true. They need to adopt the current Christianity, which, like, a Gen Z Christianity, essentially, or just the new generation's Christianity. Like, stop listening to your grandfather's Christianity. This new one is way better, and we've worked out all the kinks. You unlearn what it was. Like, no generation is better than any other generation. Whatever it is that my, like, I don't know how that changes, or maybe it does, but how is it not going to be the case that my generation has all of these pithy sayings also that are just specific to our generation, all these stupid things that don't mean anything, that we then, like, persuade a younger generation in the wrong direction with these things that we're saying that are actually false, that we think are true. Like, how is it the case that my generation isn't also going to have all this bullshit to teach the new generation, that the new generation is going to be like, we need to change the things when that we heard when we grew up? It might not necessarily be the case that that is true. Like, maybe we've reached some turning point generationally where we realize that we shouldn't put stock in a generation, or like the authority of just older people in general. Like, maybe we need to deteriorate the idea that older people always have more to say, and at, like, maybe we've reached a critical point where we realize that that's true, because it seems like it characterizes the boomer generation, that they shared with us all this crap and all these sayings that don't mean anything, but they're like, I mean, my guess is that they heard even worse bullshit sayings from their parents, and they refined that into a lesser version of bullshit sayings, and whatever, just teachings. And now my generation is refining what they heard, but that we're gonna still have shit that we're saying that isn't true, that we're blind to. It's like, I don't know how you would avoid that. But the point that I'm making is just like, I don't know why the Christian church would ask me to unlearn what I grew up with, because if I do that, then I am walking away from Christianity, because the Christian faith that I grew up with is my connection to Christianity. Why would I, if I unlearned that, then, oh, then it's gone. Then no more. That's what I learned when I grew up, is my connection to it. I don't know how you'd ask me to, like, to join the church by unlearning it, by disassociating myself with what I taught when I taught was taught when I grew up, like as if what you were taught when you grew up doesn't mean anything, or you can totally sever ties to that. That would be like the Christian church apparently is asking me to unlearn Christianity. That would be like if I went to people I know that I grew up with that I don't see that much now because I live in a different place. And I was like, you need to unlearn what you know about me. That isn't me. I've changed, because it's like I have changed. Now I have this other thing going on in my life or whatever, where I live in a different state, or like I sort of have a new life out here. But am I going to be able to go back to people I grew up with and convince them that, oh, I'm so different now? That would never happen, because they'd be like, no, you're the same dipshit that we grew up with or whatever. Like, we see the same flaws. Like, nothing's really changed. You can't make a bunch of people adopt the new version of yourself, especially if you're like not around them. That would be like if I went to people that I knew and I was like, you need to unlearn what you know about me, because that wasn't true. Because it's true. I think those things, like the way I used to be, that isn't true. Or like, I think that at least some degree, like who I am now is who I really am. So you need to unlearn everything you thought you knew about me is wrong. It's gone now. You need to be on board with this. When it's like the people that knew you at the time that they knew you and were around you, that is who you are to them. Always. There's nothing I could do. Like for people that I don't hang out with regularly now, that I used to hang out regularly with, I could not ever convince them, even just if they listen to this podcast, I wouldn't be able to convince them that like so much is different about me, or like now I do this podcast. And so that defines me. So like things have changed. Nothing has changed. Basically, like, but even in reality, even myself, that I try to convince, like, I'm so much different now. In some senses, I'm like the exact same person always, even if I did try to think that it all changed. Um, and so, but I am a changed person. Yeah, I used to be a lot better, of a person. I used to be like a good Christian person. And, but I think at the end of the day, like, I wish that I was more mean, but I'm just kind of like nice. Like, whatever. I mean, it's possible that everybody's personality is totally like the experiences that create that personality are just set in stone by the time you're age 5. It's possible that really all the most formative experiences happen like through age 5 or something. Like I've heard things like that, that there's studies done. And that's what you're getting from a fact standpoint with this podcast, is like I've heard that studies were done. Um, because I really don't give much of a shit about facts, and I don't like when people say that they have them when they don't, especially if it's the news. The news doesn't have the facts, they just have their interpretation of what happened, especially when it's the local news and a shooting happened earlier in the day, and then they arrive on the scene 3 hours later and they're like, yeah, we saw the shooting, when they didn't. All of the news is like that. But the news are the ones that are like, hey, this is the fact-based world. You need to finally listen to the news so you can get back into the reality where facts happen. It's just such a fantasy to act like you own facts. Facts are relative, like there are barely any of them. Like things that we all agree on, that would be a fact. But fact is just based on popular perception, no matter what. Like the borders of America, the way that it's laid out, that's a fact. But it's also the we need to respect America as an entity to say it has borders. Like from a conceptual standpoint, we have to conceive that America is going on. Like, yeah, so that's a fact. Yeah, so there are facts, right? It's just that, yeah, everybody knows facts are crap now. I don't need to argue to you why facts are shit. Okay, well, that was a That was a bad shot there. How embarrassingly bad a bad shot that was. Well, it doesn't take a genius to know. Making fun of the broadcaster that maybe you can hear on the audio, but maybe not. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go back to everyone and be like, hey, you need to unlearn what you know about me, because this person that is me, that's what it is now. Like, it was harmful for you to grow up with what you thought I was back then. It's kind of silly. You can't go back. You can't go back in the past and be like, no, that the things that Christianity was saying back then, that was wrong. That was never what it was. Get there. I need to focus on this. Ooh, lob wedge chip. 4 yards. This is going to go too far. So I need to. Oops. So, oh, damn it. Fucked that up. Now I'm in a world of hurt. No. Go back to what it was before. I gotta do a chip. No, not a pitch. A chip. And then a lob wedge. And then I need to adjust the thing. Yes, here we go. Oh, that's only gonna go that far? Are you fucking kidding? Well, how the fuck am I supposed to fix this? Putter. Okay, I just do a putter. 18 feet. Oh, and then I missed, and then it blew right by the hole, even though I went way less power than it said. But, you know, so like the queen died, and then nobody actually cares, but she just gets the Ruth Bader Ginsburg treatment. Like, oh, old political lady, she's dead, so everybody cares. So here's some Technicolor calligraphy pictures of her, or whatever. Like the kind that they used to do with Obama. Like the queen, too, because she got it. She really understood the way that it was. Like, she represented hope and change for a lot of people, or something. Like, all of those, like, I don't know what you'd say, all those drawings that make her look cool, like calligraphy or spray paint. Like, nobody's making a spray paint of the queen, but I guess somebody is, actually. Never mind. I take that back. Somebody is making a spray paint as a mural on the side of some building in a popular downtown area of a big city, where she's probably next to like Ruth Bader Ginsburg and all the other political old ladies that died for the cause. Um, but it's nobody's like, yeah, I really miss her now that she's gone. Like, I didn't care about it at first, but like actually shed a few tears thinking about it. Like, I really wish that she was still here. Nobody in America, and nobody in Britain for that matter. But I'm saying that fuck her. She doesn't deserve it. I am saying that, but I wanted to say it in a nicer way. It's just like everybody looks at that and then they're like, "Wow, I guess she's dead." Like, it's news. People acknowledge it. It's news, but we're not like, "Wow, she changed so much. Her impact." She basically just went to meetings for 50 years in a row. Um, so I don't know how one would get emotional about that. Um, and I'll be pissed if somebody does. So nobody better. Yes, I needed that. I bogey save. Bogey save. I needed that one. Um, Yeah, so I'll edit that audio later. Nothing against the Christian church. I appreciate anybody who would have mentioned that to me to say you should get back into Christianity so you can unlearn the theology that that unfortunately you believed when it was told to you. And I'm just kind of saying like, well, if I unlearn it, then you should really ask me to learn it or something because the indoctrination factor was the only reason I was there in the first place. Like that I become unindoctrinated, that's not the direction you want me to go to join the church. You have to manipulate the shit out of me in order for me to be in there. Is my experience with it. So you should actually try to manipulate me to try to get into the church. Don't tell me to walk away from it. But it's all manipulation. Anyway, it's all manipulation. That's a shot right there. That's a shot. That's gonna go. That's gonna go on this difficult par three. Get there. You know, that's a good shot. I'm really happy with that one. I'm happy with that result. This is not an easy hole. It's a 200-yard par three. That's not easy in real life or on a video game, but it's harder in real life. Not to dismiss the old church there, but I'm not trying to dismiss it. I birdie. I come back with a birdie. But it's all right overall. I don't. I feel pretty positive about the life I'm living. It has its negatives, but if I was really to think about it, it's like I kind of live in a veritable paradise where at any other point in human history, like my life by the standards of other anybody in the past is like a paradise or something. Like I have so many options. I live in the richest country in the world. Near the height of like America as a civilization, it's still near the height of its popularity or like near its peak. It might not have even reached its peak, even though people say like we're on the decline. It might not be the case. It's probably more like we're in the peak of it and we can see that the decline will be happening. But it's really like near the height of American civilization, one of the greatest civilizations ever on Earth. Not to sound like a proud American or anything, because you don't want to paint yourself as that. As people will start heading for the hills, be like, oh my God, he's a extremist. I'm saying like in comparison to other civilizations, America's one of the greatest. I live in the richest country. I do well enough for just by American standards, like by anybody else's standards throughout history. Like I kind of just live in a paradise. Like just that you can go to a convenience store and it's like Willy Wonka's chocolate factory in there. All pleasures are available to you. You can buy 20 different kinds of chewing tobacco if that's your thing. You can buy cigarettes. You can buy cigars. I mean, at least cigarillos. Can you buy a cigar at a gas station? You can buy beer. You can buy liquor. You can buy 25 different energy drinks or sodas or teas. Anything that you want. 1,000 different candies just at a convenience store. It's miraculous. Just the options, and all of them are cheap. It's like, how did this even happen? How did this fall into our laps? Uh, you want to play the lottery? Lottery tickets. Just nothing but fun and entertainment are in a convenience store, even though it's just like, oh, that's just a gas station. All the shit that's in there, it's really something. Um, all the different options for fast food that I have, and I could buy them if I wanted. Um, like I do good enough, I could buy whatever fast food. It's just kind of like a paradise, really. And like it's just that if you keep that in focus, then life is good. Even if I was depressed, it would it would be hard for me to ignore that my life is easy enough or whatever. Um, because people used to be a lot poorer than they are currently, but money kind of exploded in the last century along with ingenuity, like along with all these new inventions that transform the world. All that transformativeness correlated to money creation, and like the world got richer over the last century quite a bit. Quality of life improved if you want to follow studies that cover things like that. Quality of life is improved. We're feeding the world at a better rate now, like world hunger. We're better at getting food to people than we used to be. Like the world has gotten a lot better in the last century and people have gotten richer if you want to admit it, if you want to look at what actually has happened. And unless, like, besides looking at TikTok, where every TikTok is saying we're in the shitter, the world is, we're all shitty, and we're getting worse, which apparently makes for a popular TikTok. That seems to be like the new, that's like neo progressivism is against progressivism, or just having a mentality that nothing, that we shouldn't try to accomplish things, or we're not headed in a direction where new things are being made, or we're like heading in a bad direction. TikToks are negative and shit, and it's just kind of um, an important thing that I've thought about recently. I've just been thinking about the dynamic between real and fake a lot recently, in recent months. Just like when something's real, but then reality, reality. It's just that there are those things that are in reality that people just refuse to recognize, that are a constant. Like if you're an atheist, you're like Christianity, the lies coming out of the church, when it's like they aren't lies, it's just a, it's actually relevant information to our lives, probably. And I'm not trying to say probably like I'm being snarky. I'm just saying like I think probably it is, seeing as that it's, people are really flocking to that all the time, to Christian churches. It's kind of like a reality rather than like, it's just, if you hated science, it's the same thing. Or even if you hate it, if you hate atheism, it's the same thing. Like atheism is a reality, but a lot of these things, um, it's weird that we can dismiss like conspiracy as fake when you're just ignoring all of the energy that is devoted to that. Look at all the time people spend with that. It's not fake at all. But then you have the Real Ones podcast with John Bernthal, and he's a real one, of course. And so that's too bad. I'm talking about that podcast that Shia LaBeouf was on as a guest. That's probably the only way you would know it, if you know of it at all. Have you seen Shia LaBeouf on the Real Ones podcast? That's what I'm asking you. The Real Ones with John Bernthal, because Shia LaBeouf is a real one. But leave it to Shia LaBeouf to turn real one into an insult, you know? Because now, I mean, at the point that it applies to Shia LaBeouf, it's just an insult. The way that the world looks at it, it's kind of like, yeah, I always knew that guy was a real one. It's like he finally came out. He finally came out as that. He finally admitted it, huh? Like, isn't that what we've hated Shia LaBeouf for all this time, basically, the world? They hate him because of that peculiar way that he is, um, which is basically his realness. Him being a real one is what people always hated him for. So he really just came out as a real one. And now that he has, now we can see like, that guy, he's just a real one. He thinks he's something because he's a real one, because he made it on the Real Ones podcast. But could you imagine being the host of that? John Bernthal? He must be a real one, you know? He's like the realest one. But he's got to be on crack or something to think that you have the authority over real ones. That is a lot of burden to take on your shoulders, to start a podcast called Real Ones. how do you stay a real one after starting that? Like, how do you how do you not get into a persona of a guy that's real all the time with your guests? Like, he has to be real all the time now. I mean, not that he's thinking that. I would imagine that it's more like he is such a real one that, like, he has the balls to say he has the authority over that. Like, you have to be above a real one to the point you don't even care about being that. It must be the case for John Bernthal, the host of Real Ones. Like, he's on crack. That's what that means. Like, he's so out of his mind that he doesn't even give a shit about being a real one. He's so real. But it's really like this is madness. Um, a real one. Overall, I'm just jealous of, like, I wish I was a real one, like Shia LaBeouf. You know, I wish I was real. My podcast would just be called Fake Ones because I'm not real enough, because I haven't done enough things. You actually have to do a lot of things to be real. Like, I do not deny that Shia LaBeouf is a real one. I totally get it. It's just that, yeah, well, yeah, we always knew. Yeah, of course he's a real one. Fucking guy. Piece of shit. Yeah, we know he's a real one. You really didn't have to say it. He's a real one. I wish I was a real one myself. I'm a real one, yeah. I'll admit it. Fuck, I'll say it. I'm a real one. But it's not really for me to say. That's how fake I get. How could I convince you just as one person here? Listen to me tell you that I'm a real one. I am real. Here I am. Don't you see me? I mean, I guess everybody is real. It's just like you're not a real one unless you're a real one. But it's like I would say that I am in reality not that much of a real one because I haven't done a lot of things. You have to have authority to be real. And I'm wondering if the world is realizing this or if I'm just realizing it, that the importance of authority, like, the people that we trust are the authoritative ones. They have to be the people that did it. And let me give you a good example of what I'm saying. Is you have Colin Cowherd and you have Joel Klatt. Colin Cowherd, in case you don't know, he's a well-known sports commentator and analyst who has his own show called The Herd. He used to work for ESPN, then he quit and started working for Fox, and he does like 3 hours every weekday of just sports commentary just by himself. He has an assistant, but the assistant doesn't give much input. His name is Colin Cowherd, and he does 3 hours of sports commentary every weekday. So he's basically like the Joe Rogan of sports. Not exactly, because he doesn't have a conversation with anybody, but he's kind of like his show on Fox works basically as a podcast too, and because he's putting out so much content, he actually has the ability to gain to materialize a lot of money. He has the ability to accumulate a lot of money just because of content and then YouTube clips made off of that content. The same way Joe Rogan accumulates a bunch of money just through the shit that he created, and it's now just sitting on the internet. But there's Colin Cowherd, and then Colin Cowherd has this like college football specialist guest on sometimes. His name is Joel Klatt, but Joel Klatt is newer to the game of sports commentary than Colin Cowherd. Not that much newer, but like the thing is that it used to be that we thought Colin Cowherd was trustworthy in this area more so than Joel Klatt. But I feel like perception has changed where we realize that Joel Klatt should be listened to about college football because he is actually a broadcaster and he played football at the college level pretty well. Like, he's a decent college football player. I'm guessing he made the pros but wasn't there very long. So he's like a real football player, Joel Klatt. And then he became a broadcaster, so he'll broadcast games live. He'll do commentary live over real games. does Joel Klatt, and he meets with a lot of coaches and players just because of his job. And but in other words, Joel Klatt is like he's a better character actor than Colin Cowherd. He because he devotes more time to his craft, essentially, because he's always out meeting people. He's always gaining authority. He's always gaining intel and information about what's happening in college football. He figures it out right where it's happening. He's gaining all of this real world experience in college football. But then you have Colin Cowherd, who just gives 3 hours of commentary a day and is not a broadcaster, was only a high school football player, doesn't regularly meet with all these people because that's not what his job asks of him. And so he has less authority, and he's not gaining that authority continually or even right now. And I think that perception has changed where we realize that the Joel Klatts of the world are to be listened to. Like, it's just that ultimately it is always about authority. The people that we end up listening to are the people that experience it. This is the only way we can tell who to listen to. And I think that the world is changing right now, that we are trying to see who are the people who have the authority. But like I said, I don't know if this is something the world is happening upon or if it's just something that I'm happening upon, because it is something that I'm just now realizing recently, like in this past year, that, or I mean, this is something that I now believe. Maybe it's not true. Maybe what I believed before was more true. But like what I believe now is that it's actually, you need to have done the thing for years and years. Like, this is the only way we sort out who we listen to. But it's like the people who make all the money are always the people who have been doing the thing the longest. Like the people that were shocked by their insight or the transcendence of their example in the world. Those are the people who have put in the most work to gain the authority to be able to say what they're saying. Because if they didn't have the authority, we would just automatically not believe them, because people are intuitive like that. But there was relatively a lot more bullshit a few years ago in the area of people hiding whether or not they really had the authority. I mean, so I don't know if that's something that we're get to the green rule. I don't know if that's something that we're learning. Like, is this a turning point in the world where we finally, but like I'm saying, our judgment in this area would be pretty clouded since we spend so much time on the internet and on our phones, because spending time on the internet is not really in the area of gaining authority. But it's like, maybe with the arrival of the internet, we have to ask the question, what are we losing if we're always just on our phones? And maybe we're realizing the essentiality of authority, or of actually doing things. Like, maybe you can't live without it. So like, no matter how internet-ified the world becomes, there's probably always going to be a premium on people who put in enough work to be able to say that you listen to me in this area. Like, I don't know that will ever go away. And so I apologize if this sounds contradictory to messages I would have had maybe a couple years ago or even a year ago. I'm not trying to sound contradictory. Like, I generally believe all the things that I did believe. I'm just saying that I think I used to think that authority was more bullshit than it is. But just like authority overall is something you should try to obtain. I mean, I struggle with the idea of authority. You have heard my struggles as I made this podcast and made Identity. I'm often processing authority. I struggle with the idea. It's very complicated. It's very interesting. I really love it. I love it. I love it. Get to that hole now. Getting out of that hole now. Get now into that now hole now. Come on now, roll right in that hole now, ball. You ain't got to be shy now. Don't be afraid to roll right down into that damn hole now, ball. You ain't got to be damn shy about the hole. You just got to roll in, and you just got to take what's giving you a roll right in. Okay, so this is a difficult 6-foot punt here. Here, right, what we got here is a difficult 6-footer, and I drilled it. Looks like we got an hour, and I had such a good time making this. And how many holes am I through? 13. Okay, so I did about 6 holes, 5 or 6 holes, and I'm on pace. I accomplished my goal. I remained, I was even par for those 5 holes. I'm still 1 under for the round through 13 holes. You can tune into the YouTube video if you want to watch this broadcast, and I will put the like 17 minutes of audio onto the beginning of it so that it will be a good video to watch at all. And I mean to say this at the beginning of the thing, but if you're going to watch my Twitch stream, this video as a Twitch stream, which I'll give the link for that to my Twitch, I request that you follow me on Twitch. But if you don't follow me, I request that you watch it on YouTube instead, so that the view will be counted rather than like it's lost on Twitch eventually, because the streams on Twitch go away after a couple weeks. But if you found me on Twitch, just watch me on Twitch. Obviously, I have a lot of rules for how you listen to me, and well, what else was I going to mention? I can't remember. But thanks for listening. I'll be back in a week, maybe sooner. Goodbye.